There are very few places more desirable to live than Bali, Indonesia. But why? Bali is well known for its beautiful rice terraces, its amazing beaches, but what are the best parts about living in Bali? In today's video, I want to go over my top 10 favorite parts about living in Bali after living here for 2 years. Number 1 has to be the price. This here is my tiny home villa, which cost me around 5 million Indonesian rupiah per month, which is equivalent to about 425 Canadian or 325 USD. The house comes with a huge shared outdoor area with a massive pool, a kitchen, everything that you could need, and for a price that's unmatched by anywhere in the Western world. Now I could do a whole video just on my living expenses, but let me know if you guys want to see that. In general, I have 3 main living expenses, as do most people. First of all, I have my rent for my house, which I've already explained is around $400. Now my second biggest expense is food. On average, I spend around 3.5 million to 4 million Indonesian rupiah per month on food. My last main living expense for the month is transport. I rent a bike for around 750,000 Indonesian rupiah, which is equivalent to around 50 US dollars or around 65 Canadian. Now that actually brings me to my second favorite part about living in Bali, which is... I just broke my helmet. Now that actually brings me to my second favorite part about living in Bali, which is getting around. There's just something so quick and easy about taking out a scooter, driving around, parking wherever you want, and hardly ever even thinking about fuel, considering it costs me around $5 per month. The next best part about living in Bali is the freedom. At any point in time living in Bali, I can just tell myself, hey, I want to go sit by a rice terrace, or I want to go swim in a waterfall. I've never felt this level of freedom before, where I can just walk through a rice terrace, I can go wherever, and nobody's gonna stop me. Now my fourth favorite part about living in Bali is just a minute drive away. So, my fifth favorite thing about living in Bali has to be the food. I mean, where else can you get a meal for $4 with a view like this and have it all to yourself? On average, you can expect a breakfast to cost around $4 or $5 and a lunch or a dinner to cost around $7 to $8. And I was shocked by just how good the food here really is. You can find any food that you'd find back home here in Bali, and for half the price. The only thing that I do give a warning about is if you like cooking, it can be difficult here because the grocery stores don't necessarily have all the things that we do have back in North America. But that's just a good excuse to go eat out every day. Thank you so much. Yep. 1 smoothie bowl, 1 coffee. Breakfast, check. So, breakfast done, and we're on to my next favorite part about Bali, which only happens to be a minute away from here. So, as you may have guessed, the next best thing about Bali is the beaches. Although not all of the beaches here are the beautiful white sand beaches you might expect, it's so nice to always be close to the water. Bali's beaches are an amazing place, especially if you're into the surf scene, which I'm not, but I do dabble once in a while, and there's waves here for people of every experience level if you want to give it a try. For the best beaches, I do recommend venturing far outside of the cities, since the beaches here can get quite crowded and have a lot of dogs. But that in itself could be a separate video, so if you want to see my list of my favorite beaches here in Bali, let me know. Now, speaking of things like surfing and beaches, my 6th favorite thing about Bali is just how many activities there are to do. From endless rice terraces to beautiful waterfalls, from freediving deep in the ocean to just lounging in the pool. If any of these sound fun to you, then you'll never get bored in Bali. But for those of us who unfortunately have to sit down and do some work every now and then, boring! There's so many amazing cafes that you can work from here in Bali, and most of them have really good Wi-Fi. Now, speaking of working from a computer, my 8th favorite thing about living in Bali is meeting like-minded people. No matter where I go here, it seems easy to find other people who are doing similar things to me, being working on social media, working with cameras, and working from my computer just in a coffee shop. Especially just by going to a coffee shop and striking up a conversation with somebody you meet. My next favorite thing about living in Bali is the incredible amount of culture and traditions that they have here. Every week there's a new ceremony, and the locals are so inviting. I've had the opportunity to experience experience so much of the local culture. There's so many other places where I've traveled that the local traditions seem to have been ruined by tourism, but Bali is not one of those places. And last but not least, my 10th favorite thing about living in Bali has to be the weather. Every day it seems to be 29 degrees Celsius, or for my American friends, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. And the sunsets here are second to none. You don't want to miss them. There are countless spots to overlook rice terraces during sunset and enjoy the beautiful weather, unlike Canada, which half the year is freezing cold. Now, for those of you who have been to Bali before, you do know that there is a rainy season, which has to be one of the worst parts about living in Bali. Speaking of which, my next video on this channel will be a list of the top 10 worst parts about living in Bali, so make sure to subscribe and to stay tuned for that. But for now, peace.